So far we have seen the different tools what we have in web intelligence. So today we'll see how do we manage them and how the customer is going to use the info view, or how do we schedule the reports through info view as a report developer or a business objects administrator. So I'm going to log in into info view. So in info view we have different reporting tools which are published in multiple folders. Now if you want to schedule any report, for example web intelligence report, so we know that we can always run the report by directly double clicking on any report or right click and click on view, which is going to run the report on demand. So on demand viewing is nothing but you're executing your report at that particular instance of time by refreshing the connection in the backend database, and you'll be able to see the latest data what you have in the backend warehouse. So that we call it as on-demand reporting. And apart from that, you can also schedule the reports wherein you can set some time to retrieve the data from the backend database. So there are some scenarios wherein a report might take 10 minutes or half an hour to run the or to execute the query in the background, done to retrieve the data and format the report. So in that scenario, customers will not wait for half an hour or 10 minutes to get the report generated. What we can do is we can schedule the report so that customer is going to view the instance, which is the saved instance of a specific time. So I'm going to schedule every day, maybe in the midnight, so that whatever the data that I have at that particular instance of time, that saved instance will be displayed to the customer every day. So that's the reason that we schedule the reports. And we also have another option wherein if you want to send that output, whatever the output that you are looking at, if you want to send that output as a PDF file as an attachment, we schedule the reports. So at any time, if you want to schedule a report rather than on-demand viewing, you have an option when you right click on the report, which is schedule. So I'm going to click on schedule. So here you can mention the title of your instance that has to be generated, and then click on recurrence. And in this option you need to mention when do you want to schedule it. Is it now that you want to schedule, or based on a time that you want to schedule? Only once, hourly basis, daily basis, weekly basis, monthly, and so on. There are multiple options to schedule on a recurrence basis. If you select only for now, it's going to schedule only once as of now. For example, if you want to run daily, so select daily option, and you need to mention what is the start date and end date, because it should have some starting point and ending point up to when it has to schedule the report daily and at what time. So the start date and time that you need to mention here, and end date. So maybe I'll mention 1 year difference, wherein in that 1 year my report is going to schedule every day. So for a recurrence basis scheduling, you need to mention the date, starting date and ending date. But if you are scheduling it only for now, you need not mention anything. So I'm going to schedule it only for now, as of now, and click on formats and destinations. So this is the option. After you schedule, you'll get the instance. So that instance, in which format that you want to generate. Do you want it in Web Intelligence format itself, or Excel, Adobe Acrobat, or comma separated? So these are all the output formats that are supported. So let's say I want my output in the form of PDF. Select this. Now once you create that PDF file, where do you want to send it? That is called destinations. So these are all the multiple destinations which are possible from business objects, wherein you can send it to the inbox of the other user of business objects. If you remember, as soon as you log in into InfoView, you'll be able to see inbox. So that is specific to the business objects user. So one business objects user to the other business objects user, you can send the output. And apart from that, file location, if you want to send that file to a shared file location, the PDF file, then you need to select this file location and then mention to which file location that you want to send. So here for this file location, you have a default destination that is mentioned in the related server, which is known as destination job server. And if you want to change that default location, expand this settings and use the job server's defaults, wherein in the job server you have mentioned which file location by default it has to send. So at runtime, if you want to mention it, uncheck it, and here you need to mention the directory, the C drive or a shared directory, and if it has, so the file name what it has to generate, if you have any specific name you can mention, and also if that folder, a shared folder, has user ID and password, mention that user ID and password. So this is how we can also send that to a file location. Or FTP server. So FTP is nothing but file transfer protocol, which is again a remote or a custom software wherein you can move the content into a directory using this software. So that is also something like placing your documents into a shared location wherein you need to provide the host name, user ID and password and directed location. And apart from that, here you have one more option, that is email recipients. If you want to send it to a third-party email IDs like Gmail or Hotmail accounts that you want to send this PDF file, then enable this email recipients and provide user ID and password and the subject, and add this output as an Acrobat PDF file as an attachment and send that. So if you expand this destination, if I uncheck use job server default, here you can mention your email IDs from, to, CC, subject, and if you want to add any message you can add. This is how you get credit card statements every month, which are automatically generated from the backend warehouse, and you'll receive the PDF as an attachment. So here, in order to send an email to the third-party email ID, the job server, the destination job server, whatever that is responsible, you need to configure SMTP. So in order to send any emails, you need to configure SMTP. So even if you have Outlook installed, and from that Outlook, if you want to send any emails, you need to configure SMTP, then only you can send. In the same manner, in business objects, I'll show you where you need to configure that in CMC. So only when if you provide that information, you'll be able to send the mails to third-party email IDs. So as of now, here I'm going to select inbox, and inbox in the sense I have destination, and I'm using job server's default destination. If I uncheck it, I can see the list of users to which inbox that you want to send. I'll select administrator and big classes users, send the output to these two users, and if you want to specify any specific name, you can always specify. So I want to generate my instance or a file name with uh, a date and time when it got generated, and that's it. So this is my scheduling formats and destination options. And cache, so it's something which is related to the different languages. So we are not going to select anything here. And events, I'll show you how do we schedule based on an event. As of now, we are scheduling based on a time. And server, scheduling server group. So each and every business object server machine has a specific limit how many number of reports that you can schedule at a time. For Intel Core 2 Duo processor, it can schedule around 8 different jobs at a time parallelly. If it exceeds more than that, obviously you will not be able to schedule it. If you have already scheduled a recurring job, then it has to wait for the job server when it becomes idle. So when it completes the 8 jobs, then it picks the other 8 jobs to execute your or to schedule your reports. In that scenario, to improve the performance, so what Business Objects Administrator will do is he's going to configure or install Business Objects Enterprise on multiple machines, not on a single CPU. So they'll maintain 2 CPU or 3 CPU for single Business Objects installation, so that they can make use of the other hardware resources of other systems. And if you have 2 CPU, at a time you can schedule 16 jobs, 3 CPU, 3 into 8. So like that they can improve the performance. And since you have installed your business object server on multiple machines, but all those 3 machines are using a centralized repository, now to schedule it you have 3 different job servers. One is CPU 1, the other one is CPU 2, and the other one is CPU 3. So those 3 job servers put together, we create one server group. That is nothing but a server group. Now you can mention while scheduling a report which server group that you want to use to schedule your report. And in that server group you have 3 job servers. If one of the job server is busy in scheduling the other reports, it directly picks the other job server which is free. So that is about server grouping, and while scheduling you can mention that server, which group that it has to use. But as of now we are scheduling only one report, no need to mention, it's going to pick up the default one. Now I'm going to click on schedule. So this is the window where it shows the scheduled instance status. So it still shows that it is running. I'll refresh the status. Still it is running. Success. So now it got succeeded, and if you want to see the output, you can directly click here the PDF file, and it's going to open the output in the form of a PDF. So this is the output that it got generated with using the schedule option. Now what is the destination that I have selected? To the inbox, right? So I'll go to home here. As an administrator, I have also selected destination. I'll check my inbox. If you see your inbox, you'll be able to see that a new message got received, and that message is nothing but this one. This is the new message that I have received today, and double click on this, you'll be able to see the output as a PDF file. And the same output will be sent to the other user, which is big classes user. If he logs in, he'll also be able to see a new message into his inbox. So that is how we schedule the reports, and we send it to different locations. It might be file location or inbox of BO, email IDs, or FTP location. So apart from scheduling based on a time, if you want to schedule based on an event, so what is that event? Here in business objects, we have three types of events. So let's see where do we find the events and how do we create the events. So those events are available in CMC. Open new window and I'll log into Central Management Console. And here under Define, you have events. Click on events. So I've already created one event with the name file. So if you want to create a new one, so click on new event. Now here you have three types of events: file type, schedule type, custom. So custom is something, if you have any programs that you have written, you can use that custom event to run that macro or a script. And file and schedule. So file event is something that to which location that you want to send the output, that you can mention. Maybe in the same server machine into C drive and so on, so location you want to send the output of your scheduled report. Sorry, here this is an event, this is not the destination. So file event is something before, so whenever you schedule based on a time, it checks for a specific file in the location and the file name, whatever that you provide under file name. And in that location, if you have that file, then only you will be able to schedule your report. If you don't have that file, you will not be able to schedule the report. So an event is going to trigger your scheduling only when the event is successful. Otherwise, it's not going to trigger your schedule. Even then you have scheduled run for every day. Before it runs, it's going to check the status whether I have so and so file in that location. So in what scenarios this is useful? Let's say that I have scheduled my report every day, but in my backend data warehouse, I'm running ETL jobs once in a week. Until 7 days, do you see any changes in your report? Obviously, you won't see any changes because you have not updated your warehouse. You will come to see the changes only when you schedule after 7 days. In that scenario, I want to schedule my report only when if the backend data warehouse got updated. So even then I have selected a specific time. At that instance, I need to double check if there is any update has been made on my backend database. If yes, then only schedule my report. If no, don't schedule my report because I'm going to get the same data once again. And you need to mention your ETL developers that once they load the warehouse data, at the end, try to generate this file in so and so location with some name, whatever that you mention in this event. So that is the job done by ETL developers. Once they load the warehouse, they'll try to generate a so and so file what you want in a location, and taking that as a trigger function for your scheduling. So your report starts scheduling and it shows the output. That is called file type event. And you have another event called schedule event. So schedule event is nothing but same report you're scheduling multiple times, right? So today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow. So every day you're going to get a new instance. Now, whenever you're scheduling, if the previous instance got failed, then what is the use of scheduling today? It's again going to fail. So scheduling your report based on the previous instance status is nothing but schedule type event. And you can mention that if the previous instance is failed, don't schedule it. If the previous instance is passed, then schedule it. So if it is failed, you need to fix that problem, why it got failed, and then only you will be able to schedule your report. Otherwise, every day you are going to get failed instances. So that is about schedule type of an event. So here I have already created one file type event, and I have located the directory C drive. If I find test.txt file, then only schedule. Now let's go back to our info view, and I'm going to schedule a report based on that event, not only mentioning the time. And before I schedule it, let me see if I have in my C drive test.txt. Yes, I have it. I'm going to move it on top of my desktop. Now I don't have it. Now let's see. So right click, schedule. Now I'll schedule it for now. Destination is again the same inbox and PDF, but now this time I'm going to use my file event to be added. So I need to wait for this. Once I get it, then only schedule it. Now I'll click on schedule. See, it's still in a pending state. So it's going to be in a pending state wherein event server is going to check at each and every minute whether you have that file in that location. Wherein event server is checking in that folder location whether you have that file continuously, and but still didn't find that file. That's why your schedule is in pending status. So it will never schedule until unless it finds that file. Now what I'll do is I'm going to place the file in that location. As soon as I place it, go back to your status and now refresh. Now see, it starts scheduling. See, it's running now. So as soon as it finds that file, it starts running and it starts scheduling, and it becomes successful. Yes, you can also set if the schedule got failed, send a notification or send an email to the so-and-so developer, so that you will come to know that whether that it got failed or success. So that is something which is custom event type. Otherwise, I think you need to check that in the job server, providing email ID and password to send that instance to the email ID that it specific job got failed. So you have very limited options in business objects, but if you want any customized options, you have a custom event wherein you can make use of the third-party scripts. You can write it, or otherwise there are a lot of third-party schedulers that are available for business objects wherein you need to purchase, and that's going to help you to have more options for scheduling your reports. Okay? So that is about scheduling based on event type. Now, so we have seen scheduling based on a time to a different destinations with different formats, and we have seen scheduling a report based on an event. Now, let's take an example of time wherein that you have decided to schedule every day. So I want to schedule my report every day for 1 year, but I want to avoid holidays. I don't want to schedule on Saturday and Sunday. Apart from that, I have my organization holiday list. On those days, I don't want to schedule. Then how do you do that? So for that, you have an option called building your own calendars. So in CMC, if you log into CMC, you have an option called calendar. Just above this event, you have calendars. So this is a calendar wherein you can build your own calendar, mentioning that what are all the run days that you want in a year, and use that calendar as a source while mentioning the recurrence. So now let's say I have a test calendar here. If I double click, I'll be able to see what are all that I have mentioned in the selected dates. So here I can mention what are all the run days from the starting day and an ending day. This is the total 12 months calendar. You can select the range up to where that you want, and in that calendar I'm going to select what are all the run days that I want. Only on those days it's going to schedule and you are going to get an output. So like that you can select and you can make use of this calendar, save and close it. And this calendar I can use while scheduling your report. Schedule under recurrence. So this time I'm not going to mention as timely basis, but wherein I'm going to mention my calendar. As soon as you click on calendar, it shows the list of calendars what you have. So select a specific calendar and what are all the run days, it will be displayed here, and schedule it. So only on those days it's going to schedule. So that is scheduling your report based on customized dates. So these are all the multiple options that you have for scheduling your report. Any questions? Okay. So same options that you'll be able to see for crystal reports, but wherein for crystal reports you'll be able to get more exporting options because crystal reports have a lot more formats, export formats than webi. And while scheduling, if you have any parameters, so you have to provide parameter values at scheduling time itself. With those parameter values, it's going to schedule your report. So that is about scheduling. Yes, administrator job is to schedule these reports and organize these reports. That's a job done by admin. So far whatever we have seen is, so we are done with developer job. Now whatever that we do in InfoView or CMC, that's the job done by admins. So that is about scheduling reports, and InfoView is to run on demand or schedule the reports whatever that you have, or as a developer you can generate web intelligence or Voyager workspaces through InfoView. So that's an overview of InfoView what we do. Now coming to CMC. So what do we do in CMC? Let's see. So in Central Management Console, so these are all what we do: managing users and groups, creating authentication, providing application security, applying the security, managing server groups, managing objects, managing calendars, scheduling objects. You can also schedule from CMC, and managing events. So we have seen scheduling objects, we have seen managing events, and we have seen managing calendars. So let's see the other part. So CMC is which is going to allow a business objects administrator to remotely control the entire business object system. because it is a web-based tool. So you need not log into your server machine. Even from your client machine, just run the URL and log in, and you can manage the content through browser. So it allows you to perform user and server management tasks, wherein all the content, how you want to display, how do you want to manage, so that is done through CMC. What are all the folders that you want in each folder, what reports that you want to place, and what folders, which user has an access to which folder. So all those things that you are going to define or assign at CMC level. So only users with administrative rights can perform management tasks. So those are all admins, not the developers. So now, how do we manage users? So how do we create users and user groups? Let's see. So first of all, users are nothing but each and every user has user ID and password, and with that account they'll be able to log into InfoView. Now, other than users, you also have user groups. So what is this user group? So user groups are nothing but a set of users together, categorizing them into a specific department. For example, in any organization you have multiple departments, and in each and every department you have employees. HR department you have around 100 employees, finance department you have around 50 employees. So naming those users, those users together as a group, that is nothing but user group. So whenever you create any user, you need to assign that user to a specific group, which is mandatory. You cannot keep the user without assigning to any group. So that is the best practice, that the user should belongs to a specific group. So now let's see, how do we create users and user groups in CMC. So as soon as you log into CMC, and if you go to the home page, so here under organize, you have an option of creating users and user groups. Click on this users and user groups. So here you'll be able to see both users and user groups list, or if you want to see only the user list, these are all the users list. And if you want to see group list, these are all the groups list. With the installation of Business Object Server, you get default user groups. Those default user groups are nothing but administrators, everyone, Quas group designer, report conversion tool users, translators, and universe designer users. So these are all predefined user groups that you get with the installation of your Business Objects Enterprise. Other than that, whatever that you see, those are all created at runtime by the administrator for customization purpose. So now, whenever you create, so let me create a new group, right click on that and create new group, and you can mention the group. Group name may be sample. Now click on OK. So this is a sample group that you have, and I'm going to create a new user. I'll name this as, see here, the first option what you have is authentication type. The user account, whatever that you create, by default the authentication type is, so by default the authentication type is enterprise. Enterprise authentication is nothing but business objects related authentication. And other than that, you have LDAP, SAP, Windows AD, and Windows NT. These authentication types are something related to the third party domains. When you want to extract from SAP BW, whatever the users that you have, you need to use that authentication. But in order to create a new user, you have to use enterprise type of authentication. You cannot create LDAP or SAP R3, because those are all the third-party domains that are already exist, you need to import into your business objects. So the enterprise is something which is specific to business objects enterprise application, and I'm going to mention the account name sample, and if you have email ID you can mention description, and I'll mention the password, and you can make sure that user must change the password at next time. If you check this option, as soon as you create this user and if you provide the credentials to that user, so when he's going to use that, as soon as he logs in, he'll be prompted to change the password so that he can use his own password than the other password given by the admin. So you can check based on your options, and at the ending you have an option connection type, which is concurrent or named user. So these users are something related to the license key what you purchase. So concurrent users are nothing but using single user ID and password, you can log into Vivo application in multiple machines parallelly. But named user is something that if you create user ID and password, if you have already logged in one machine, will not be able to log in another machine using same user account. So that is based on the license key what they have purchased, and here for every customer the software is same. The cost is something related to the licenses. How many user license key that you want? 100 user, 1000 user, 10,000 user, or 1 lakh user. Based on that, the license key cost varies. So here I'm going to use concurrent user and create and close. So I have successfully created a user in this business objects enterprise, and the next step is you need to add this user to a group. So in order to add, so by default, if you don't add this user to any group, by default he belongs to a default group called everyone group. So this is the default group. So even if you don't assign, automatically each and every user belongs to this group by default. Now I'm going to assign this, so I'll right click on that user and I'll click on join group. And now I'll select the group what I have created, which is sample, and click on OK. Now under sample group, I have a user called sample. So he is the user under sample group. So like that, you can create a user and you can assign a specific user to a group, and there is no limit that if one user is under one group, it doesn't mean that you cannot join another group. A single user can be joined to multiple groups. It's also possible. And you can also make this group as a subgroup of a main group. For example, administrator group, you can assign a subgroup. You can assign this group to administrators. So whatever the rights that you have assigned to administrator will be inherited, and that will be assigned to this group as well. So that is about users and user groups, how we create in Business Objects Enterprise. And after you create that users and user groups, the next step, authentication. So what is authentication in Business Objects? Authentication is the type of an account what you are using to log into your Business Objects Enterprise. As I said, the standard authentication that you get with the installation of Business Objects is Enterprise Authentication, which is specific to the BO application. But what are all the third-party authentications that you have? Windows AD, LDAP, Windows NT, and SAP R3. So these are all third-party authentications. So why do we need those authentications? Let's say, for example, uh, you joined an organization wherein in that organization they are using Business Objects Enterprise. As soon as you join any company, they are going to create a user account for you to log into your specific machine. And as soon as you log in, and once you are in their network, you'll be able to see any type of an application, or you'll be able to access using same user ID and password any application in your organization. So let's say, for example, you have a domain called Windows 80, and in that domain you have multiple employees working. And now, for all those employees, I want to give an access to my Business Objects application. Let's say you have 1,000 employees. How you are going to give an access to those 1,000 employees to my BO application? Are you going to create 1,000 different user IDs and passwords manually? Which is very tough and which is time-taking process. In that scenario, you have an option of importing the users from third-party authentications. Provide that authentication details and import that domain into your BO application so that whatever the users that you have over there in your Windows 80 will be imported into your local Business Objects application, and using the same account, not only logging into the machine, they can also log in into Business Objects application. That is called authentication. So BO authentication is an enterprise authentication which comes with an installation, and other than that you have Windows NT specific to the machine, and this is the place where we provide the domain name and import all the users. Windows NT and then Active Directory. So these are all third-party authentication that you have in different machines. LDAP, Windows Active Directory. So provide all the information related to that, wherein you will get that information from the network administrator and import that into your Business Object Server. So now let's see, where do you add those accounts? In CMC, if you go to Home here, and here under Manage you have Authentication. Click on this Authentication and you will be able to see different authentications. Except Enterprise, all others are third party. Now let's say I want to import LDAP. Double click on this. It opens a window where you need to provide more information related to that LDAP connectivities. As soon as you provide that information, so you need to add that host name. Once you add that host name and when you click on next, it's going to show you the list of domains that you have, and in that domain what are all the users that you have. So go ahead and import all the users into your Business Object Server. So you have specific options. How do you want to import those users? Do you want to prompt them to change the password? And so this is one-time job. Once you link it with LDAP or Windows 80, any change occurs in that domain will be reflected in your BO application as well, because it will be always in a connected mode. So only one-time job. You will never do that again and again. If any user got deleted in the original domain, same thing happens in your BO. If any user got created in that domain, same thing happens in your BO. Any changes that occurs in that authentication will be reflected in your Business Objects Enterprise. So they can use same account to log in to BO app as well. For example, let's take an example of SAP BW user IDs. I have users belongs to SAP BW application, and I want them to have access to my BO as well, but I don't want two different user IDs to be used. One is for BO and one is for BW. I want them to use the same account, whatever that they have used in BW, and log into my BO machine. So in that scenario, you need to select SAP, double click on that, and provide the SAP connectivity information, server information, what is your application server system number, user ID and password, and here you have an option of role import. Role is nothing but groups in SAP BO. So we call user groups in SAP BO, but they call it as roles in SAP BW. So you can import roles and users from SAP BW, and what are you going to do with the roles? Roles are going to become user groups in BO as soon as you import, and whatever the security that you have provided for that user is at SAP BW level. Now once you import those roles and users, you need to start providing security information specific to BO level. But in both the scenarios, the people are going to log in and use the application using the same account, user ID and password. So that is how you'll be able to import third-party domains into your business objects enterprise to work with your application. Any questions? So, and you can also enable single sign-on at the time of importing it. So single sign-on in the sense, you need not provide user ID and password again and again. As soon as you log into the system, enough. Same information will be used for all the applications. Any questions on authentication? So that is about authentication. Now, other than authentication, we have application security. So what is this application security? So far we have seen how to create users, how to import users from third-party domains, and how to create user groups and how to assign users to specific user groups. Done. Now the next step is providing application security. Okay, you have this user group or you have these users, but what type of an access that they have on different applications what you have in Business Objects Enterprise. You need to provide and you need to assign the application security. How you are going to assign? So under application security, so these are all the applications what you will be able to see in Business Objects, Central Management, Crystal Report Explorer, which is no longer available, but this is for ad hoc Crystal reports, and Universe Designer, Desktop Intelligence, Encyclopedia, InfoView, Report Conversion Tool, Web Intelligence. These are all multiple applications that you have in Business Objects Enterprise. How you are going to assign application security for a user? Let's see. So if you go to applications in your CMC, you'll be able to see the list of applications, and you can right click on a specific application and you can start providing the rights. So if you go to the CMC, here under manage you have an option called applications. As soon as you click on applications, you'll be able to see different applications in your BO. For example, let's take an example of Web Intelligence. I want to define the application security for this reporting tool. Right click, go to user security. So here I have already predefined what type of an access that a specific user or a user group is going to have. Remember, the reason why we create user groups is we will never apply a security on top of a user, specific to the user. You need to do it at user group level. That is the best practice. Because if you start providing security or assigning security at user level, it will be very difficult to manage the security. You will be able to ultimately get the output, but specific to the user, different security conditions applying is very difficult to manage. A lot of documentation is required and a lot of changes needs to be done if you specify at user level. But if you specify at user group level, what are all the users that you have under that group, they are going to inherit the same application rights. That's why do it at top level, user group level, and whoever the user belongs to that group, he is going to have those rights to be assigned. So that's why whenever we assign at the user group level, and we are going to mention what type of an access that he is going to have. For example, administrator has full control. What does it mean by full control? Everyone has view access. He can only view, but he cannot run it, he cannot schedule it. So these are all predefined access levels. Normally, to assign a security for a specific group, for example, I'm going to add a principal and I'm going to add a new user group that I have created. So that user group is sample. I'm going to list only the groups. Sample is the one which I have created, and add it and assign security. Now here, either you can assign predefined access levels. These are all called predefined access levels, which means view in the sense all view rights which needs to be selected, which are already selected, and they created a group or a name called view, which is predefined access level. Full control, whatever the access rights that are required for full control, they have already predefined and they group together with the name called full control. So that set you can assign directly, or otherwise if you want to manually assign your own rights, then click on advanced, click on add or remove rights. See, here for web intelligence application, these are all the rights that you have. Each and every right that you need to manually specify whether he has a granted access. The first column is granted, second column is deny, third column is not specified. Based on your requirement, you need to select each and every option here to assign a right on top of webi report. Like that you have different rights for Crystal, like that you have different rights for Excelsius, different rights for universe designers. Each and every application, they have their own rights, and it crosses around 1000 different rights overall. So mostly it is time-taking process. That's the reason that they have defined predefined access levels. Rather selecting manually, you already have access levels. And if you don't have it, if you are not satisfied with this access level, create your own access level so that you can reuse it for multiple applications or for multiple users. Rather than redoing it for each and every user, select a user group and define the access level. Directly add that. For example, this specific user, I want to assign only view rights. Assign it. And apart from view, I want to also have additional rights. That is also possible. Add view and then go to advanced, click on add or remove rights, and start adding additional rights on top of your webi. So for example, I'll mention create document and click on apply. Click on OK. Now I have added, apart from view, I have added an additional option that he can also create a webi report. Now click on OK. Now if you observe the rights here, the sample becomes advanced. Advanced in the sense, apart from defining the predefined access level, they have also selected an additional one. Customized rights, whatever that you write, without using or apart from predefined access level, then it becomes advanced. So here in this advanced, I have used view access level, and in addition to that, one more right that I have added to this group. So like that, each and every application, right click, go to security, add user groups, assign security, use predefined access level, or create your own rights that you want to apply on top of that application. That is called application security. Any questions? So these are all multiple applications that you have. Select a specific application and define your own rights. Now, after application security, now you have security. Very difficult part of your business objects enterprise, which is security. What is this security? Apart from application security, you also have security at folder level, at object level, or at group level. So you need to follow the best practice. Always follow best practice to use security in business objects. Don't specify at lower level, that is at user level. Specify at global level, that is user group level or folder level rights. Now, under security, you have different security models like global level rights, folder level rights, object level rights, rights to universe, and rights to categories. So what is this global level rights? See here, we are not assigning any rights, wherein we have three different entities in business objects. For example, notepad. Here we have folders in business objects. We have user groups in business objects, and we have predefined access levels in business objects. Now what we do is, on this folder, which users groups needs to have an access, assign those user groups. After assigning these user groups to these folders, what type of rights that they have on top of this folder for these user groups, that you are going to define using the access levels. So three different entities, combination of those three is going to create a security. Who are all having access? So access levels are set of access levels that you are predefined. On this folder, add the user groups, assign the access level, then it's become security on top of that folder. Same thing, it might be folder, or it might be application, or it might be report, anything. This is how the security works. This is object-oriented security. Previously, this is not the case in 6x or 5x. That is user-specific, user-oriented. But here, object-oriented security is what you can apply, wherein most of the customization that you can do it in this security, and apart from that, you need to follow the best practices to understand better the security model. So now coming to the security, wherein you have object level access, wherein you can right click on a specific report and you can define the access, or you can use the predefined access level that I have showed you already. No access, view, schedule, view on demand, and full control. These are all set of securities that are predefined and grouped together with the name. And if you want to have your own customized predefined access level, you can define it. So where you can define it? So go to home here, and here you have access levels. You'll be able to see all what are all existing access levels that you have, or otherwise you can start creating a new access level. Create new access level. As soon as you create new access level, you can name this. I'm going to name this as sample. Click on OK. Now in this sample, start defining your user security or included rights. Here, click on add or remove rights. Now you'll be able to see complete BO application or BO enterprise rights. General, so these are all general rights. Go to the content, Adobe content. These are all Adobe file related rights. Analytic, crystal report, dashboards, desktop intelligence, flash file, folder, hyperlink. These are all multiple objects that you have in your business objects enterprise. Each and every object has their specific rights that you need to mention in this access level. And again, coming to applications, you have multiple applications like widget, CMC, designer, desktop intelligence. These are all application level security. So that's why, since you have these many number of rights to be specified, we do that by creating one predefined access level, and we reuse it in for multiple users or user groups. So always remember, provide the access level at group level, parent level, group level, and provide the access level at folder level. See here, if you want to define the access level rights for a specific folder, right click on that folder, go to user security, and assign the group and assign the access level. That's how we define. But don't do it at least level. Least level in the sense, double click on this training folder, right click on a specific report, go to user security, and don't assign a security for each and every object level. Because the best practice is it has to always inherit the rights what you have given at the folder level, parent level. If you start defining your own rights at object level, you will end up with multiple security for each and every object, which is very tough to maintain. So security, the best practice and the first thing that you need to know is apply at global level, not at a specific object level. So to reduce the complexity, assign security at folder level to groups. Avoid setting rights for specific users on specific report objects. Using predefined access levels rather than advanced rights. Don't use advanced. Advanced is nothing but adding additional rights. So don't use it, but use predefined access levels always. Grant the everyone group no access at the global level, then grant specific rights to the appropriate groups. Now here we need to understand the basic rule. Since you have multiple users, multiple user groups, and multiple access levels, and as I said, a single user belongs to multiple groups. Let's say for a specific group you have a deny access for a report, and another group you have grant access for that group. Now what happens to the user who belongs to both the groups? Whether he is going to have an access or not going to have an access. In that type of a conflict, remember, denied rights are always going to take high priority than allow rights. Deny is given first priority, and ultimately that user is not going to have an access. Okay? So you have three types of rights. One is granted rights, the other one is deny rights, the third one is not specified. Because if you have not specified, you can change that in future. But if you specify that as denied, you cannot access that until unless you change the deny to grant. So not specified is neutral. It's neither denied or not granted. Which means you have not yet specified, you need to specify that. So these are all the recommendations that you have, and apply always at global level security, folder level rights, right clicking on the folder, and if you want to have at object level, right click on the object, and that's all about the security model in business objects enterprise. So here you have managing server groups. When you have more than one group, you can add it. So I forgot to show you those server groups where you can specify the destinations. If you go to home here and under servers, here you have a list of servers that are running in your business objects enterprise. So as I said, if you want to configure the destination server, select the destination job server, double click on that, it opens the properties, and here is the place where you need to configure your destination So here business objects inbox is the default destination what you have selected, and you can specify the user to which user that you want to send it. And you also have file system FTP server. If you add a FTP server, you need to mention all this information to connect to your FTP server. So whatever that you see while scheduling, use defaults. Those defaults are, this is the place where you are going to specify. Now for example, you want to send it to an email ID. You need to configure email, click on add, and these are all the information that you need to provide to send an email ID, third party email IDs. So that is about an overview of business objects, enterprise, and what we do in business CMC and InfoView. So with this, we are done with business objects enterprise training, and in the next class I'll give you an overview how the 4.0 looks like and what are all the new tools that they have introduced. So that just take one more class to give you an overview. So with that, we are done. Any questions? Sure, I'm going to share these two documents. Please send me a test email to my email address, which is sapb@bclasses.com. I am going to reply to that and will add those two documents. Okay. And what are all the backup classes that you are looking for, Himanshu and Manju? Do you still want the backup classes? And what topics that you are looking for? Himanshu, are you online? Manju? I'm actually planning for this weekend, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, to complete the backup classes. Okay? So I got a mail from the classes that you have missed the first two classes, which is related to Universe Designer, right? So is it possible to join tomorrow? Same link at the same time? Same time, same link. Okay? So we'll discuss tomorrow whatever the topics that you didn't follow, and we'll close it by this weekend. Okay? So thank you everyone. So please make sure that you send an email so that I'll reply with these two documents, whatever that you have mentioned. Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Monday. Bye-bye.
The organ